I haven't played anything from Biden's speech. Let's play the clip on him talking about uniting to fight the foes that we face. Let's listen to this.
Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation. And I ask every American to join me in this cause. Uniting to fight the foes we face: anger, resentment and hatred, extremism, lawlessness, violence, disease, joblessness, and hopelessness. With unity, we can do great things, important things. We can right wrongs. We can put people to work in good jobs. We can teach our children in safe schools. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work and rebuild the middle class and make health care secure for all. We can deliver racial justice, and we can make America once again the leading force for good in the world.
What are your thoughts, Midwin?
Listen, I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. Unity is always great, right? Because with unity, you have peace. And I think it's great for him to outline the benefits of unity, which is, better schools, no division, no warring factions. That's great. But what I didn't hear from him is, what are we uniting under? Right? Usually when people unite, when they come together, they unite under a common goal, a common purpose, a common ideal. And so while I am all for unity, I want to know what we are unifying under. Are we unifying under the notion that brown children at the border can be kept in cages and separated from their families? Are we uniting over the idea that transgender can be kicked out of the military? Are we uniting over the fact that Black people's votes ought to be suppressed? And then when we do vote and we actually move the needle in elections, that our votes are disenfranchised, that people are running to court to try to throw out only the votes in Detroit, only the votes in Atlanta, only the votes in Milwaukee, only the votes in Philly, because that's where what are we uniting under is the only question that I have. But I think the concept of unity and the desire to achieve it is awesome. It's great.
I agree. And I was saying this to Jason as well. There's going to be a certain amount of work that we're going to have to do to hold Biden accountable, to push Biden in the way that Lyndon B. Johnson was pushed. Mind you, we're at a different time that we were in then in 1964. But in what ways can we push him to move him forward? We already know that he is against ending the Senate filibuster. I want to see that ended. That's a relic of Jim Crow. Like, what can we do to push him forward, to move him forward, to make sure that for however long he's in office, that there is some kind of fundamental change there? I believe LBJ was a one-term president as well, right? Because he didn't want to do a second term. He was only in there when he was so exhausted, because of course he becomes president when JFK is assassinated.
JFK was killed.
Yeah, I guess a term and a half, if you will. But in what ways can we push him forward? So that we have to do, because there is a perception that it feels like that. I think Biden believes that he can work across the aisle, and so what we're really going to see is these Republicans, the Mitch McConnells, and the new ones who were elected. So it's going to be interesting to see, under this thing of uniting, what are you going to do? Because we only have 2 years, really. We only have 2 years. What are you going to do when you see that they aren't ready to unite? Are you going to finally be gangster? Are we going to finally be a little bit more aggressive and pull a Mitch McConnell and pull Lindsey Graham and say, you know what, we're going to make this happen whether you like it or not?
Yeah, and this is almost like deja vu, when Obama won in 2008, we had the triumvirate then. We had the House, we had the Senate, and that's how we got the Affordable Care Act passed. And I hope Joe Biden, and he has this memory that's really long because he served in the Senate for decades, but he served at a time when there was less polarization. Now the Senate is so deeply polarized, it's almost like you can't even get them to agree that today is Wednesday, January, 20th, right?
Right.
And so it's a different Senate. But what is the same is that the situation is similar to '08 in the sense where we have the triumvirate. And I hope Biden recognizes that you really do only have 2 years to get this done. There's a strong likelihood that we may lose the House in 2022. We hope not, but it's possible, right? It's pretty possible. So we only have 2 years to get this done, and we don't have time to lollygag and drag our feet. And we see what happens when Republicans take power, right?
Yes.
They don't stop. They take power and they keep going and bulldozing through to do it, which is what you saw them do with the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. They just kept going and going. I mean, they were ramming through judges during the lame duck session, like doing things that were completely against the norm and against the grain. They don't care. And so I think it's important for Democrats to realize that we actually can do things within democratic norms by following the rules, but but you still have to be aggressive. Like, being aggressive doesn't mean that you are wrong. You can be aggressively right. You can pursue righteousness and legislation that is helpful to Americans in an aggressive manner. It's almost as though Democrats, for some reason, have resigned themselves to this concept that being aggressive is a bad thing. Like, somehow it is synonymous with something that is bad and wrong, when actually I disagree. I think if you have a righteous position and you are trying to pass some laws that are helpful to people, like the George Floyd Anti-Policing Act that the Democrats passed in the House that is sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act that Democrats passed in the House that is sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk. Like, these are legislations that had bipartisan support, and most of this country supports these things. Most of the country supports the idea of curbing police brutality and excessive force against Black people. Most of the country supports the idea of making sure that everybody has the right to vote. That's why you saw such a record turnout this year. People saw Trump messing with the post office and were like, "Oh, you're not gonna." Like, I guarantee you there were more people voting this year because of what Donald Trump did. Because he tried to stop them, they were like, "You know what? Let me go ahead and exercise this right here." Because, you just can't do that. And so I think it's important for Democrats to recognize, like, we have to hit the ground running. No time for the little trickle down modus operandi when it comes to passing this legislation.